retreat. So, what do you think about moving a little bit closer? How would that be? No! What would you think about coming a little closer, being a little friendlier? You know, I'm imagining there's some folks here today feel like they could use a friend. Are we ready to start back there in the sound booth, guys? All right. Well, good morning. Welcome to Common Thread. Those of you who are here in the room, welcome. Those of you who are online, welcome. My daughter was here earlier, and she looked around at the scope of things, and she said, I am thinking about 1996, because in 1995, I moved in next door to Gene Anderson. And Gene Anderson was the, I hope that's not me. Gene Anderson became our guitar player, and he did everything, and I did everything, and we used to be, Gene and I, stand up here week after week after week for years and years and years, and look at us, right back where we started. If you were here last week, wasn't that special? If you were here last week, it was so sweet, and it was so loving, and it was so kind, and Sue worked so hard to make it so, and it was really lovely. And yeah, this week, the week after some in our nation feel like we have gone through the apocalypse, and others in our nations feel like the nation has been saved from destruction, you will notice Sue has skipped town. Off on a nice little self-awareness retreat. Good luck, Doug. So I am very glad you are here, and I hope together today we can begin to unravel some of the knotted mess that our nation has handed us and find a spiritual way to be and find a spiritual way to navigate the times that we're in. And if you are a newcomer in the room, and if you are a newcomer online, welcome. We would like to send you a very low-pressure greeting email. And if you use the QR code, should be on your screen at home. Or if you just go to our website /newcomer, you can request that email, and it'll give you a roadmap. Here's how you might get involved. Here's how you might connect with some folks in the community. Also, if you are having a rough week, we know from experience, rough weeks go better when we bear them together. And so down the hall, I didn't even think to check. Is anybody supposed to be down the hall this week? Okay. Sorry, if you're having a rough week, you're just screwed. There is nobody to talk to you this week. Let's see. I imagine there's some folks we could talk with. Let's say together as we do each week, if you are here, you belong. We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light. And we are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath. And let's stand up together and turn to someone and pass the peace of God, the blessing one to another. And those of you online, let me talk to you now. So, online folks, I'm glad you're joining us today. If you've been with us before, you kind of know what's coming next. Maybe today's the day that you'll take that extra step. It's an invitation to connect, not just by watching from a distance, but in a personal way, live with other people in some smaller group on Zoom. Here's what we've learned. All of our online groups. What are you thinking that we do after the lesson? And the Life Story group, the books clubs, the Enneagram groups. Over time, even online, we do build genuine, meaningful, spiritual friendships. So that's why I invite you every week to take the leap, click one of those links. Now, I know watching on a screen is a passive activity. I know that when we are doing that passive activity, me inviting you to be active, that's just not what we do. But two things I know. We know how to build healthy spiritual community online. We've done it. We also know community is an essential human need and one that many of us are lacking. So I hope you will click one of the links in the YouTube notes. You'll go to What Are You Thinking after the lesson if you're live. The people there are very nice. Or you get some information about another online thing that we do. There's a link for that as well. So hope you'll do that. And let's go back and gather the folks and go back to the service. Not yet. We're going to. Okay, my friends, let's go ahead and be seated. Let's go ahead and be seated. Not quite yet. We're going to do some announcements, boring stuff. Okay, a few things coming up in the next few weeks, ways you can connect here in the community. Today, those of you online, there's going to be, what are you thinking? We're going to do it in the room. You're invited to do it on Zoom. I'll explain that to you when we dismiss. On Saturday, the 16th, there's going to be an intuitive painting group. Does anybody go into that? I imagine it's part of the artsy group. Tell me 2 words about it. I just saw it and I didn't. All right, okay, you can tell it. So raise your hand, go like this. If you're interested in intuitive painting, go talk to Carol. Let's see. That Sunday's drop-in Enneagram group. The Saturday following that is the Welcome House, where we create a potluck for recent immigrants. And after that, the Sunday after that is going to be the Kids Winter Workshop. I think it's, I'll explain to you that in a minute. And on that same Sunday, we'll be decorating the church. So, and is that the Sunday after? It's the first week. Okay, very good. Excellent. And let's see, the Potluck Sunday, that's the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Bring something tasty to eat. We'll set it in the, I guess we're going out of the fellowship hall. We'll set it up, and then we'll hang out afterwards and eat together. Say it again? What did I say, after? Yeah, it's before. The Sunday after Thanksgiving, however, is going to be 2 things that are happening. It's our big annual kids' Christmas event. They wanted me to explain to you, when we say the kids are going to buy presents, they don't need money. They're not buying. We're creating a store down there. They're selecting, and then they're wrapping, and then they're taking presents home for their family. What we do need is for you to go buy some stuff for them to then go buy in their store downstairs. So that's what the QR code is for. That'll take you to our Amazon wish list. You'll also find that on the website. And then it's a big event for our kids. It's a wonderful thing they do. And then they will be able to present gifts to one another on Sunday or on Christmas Day. So on that same day, we're going to stay after and help decorate the chapel for Christmas. Let's see here. All those things I just ran through quickly. If you want to know details about those and other things, there's always 3 places that you can go to get it. You can go to the front page of our website, you can go to the front page of our app, or you can just open up the Thursday email when it comes every week. We are making a lot of transition here at Common Thread. Our leadership role, my role is changing. We heard about that last week. Sue's role is changing. We're changing roles in our teen group. But on January 1st, we're going to make a pretty substantial financial transition in our community. There's not a lot of time to explain it for today, but I will tell you all about it at some point. But it does mean that from now until January 1st is kind of a critical time financially for our community. So if Common Thread is your community, I encourage you to help us get through the transition. If you've got some catch-up giving to do from 2024, this month and next would be great times to do that to help us get through the transition. So help you'll do that. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Ridge Road is running that. And so they are going to their folks to make sure that the big components are there. What they've asked us to do is bring side dishes. So if you bring a side dish, that's what we do. Yeah, thank you for asking that. All right, find a comfortable place in your body. See if you can find a comfortable place in your mind. So no matter where you are on the political spectrum, this has been a rough season. As I mentioned a moment ago, some in our nation are feeling very hopeful today. For others, the word disappointed is not a strong enough word. But most of us, one way or the other, are just spent, exhausted. So today, let's practice the quietness from which comes our strength, our tapping into the inner light that we all carry, quietness. To transcend circumstances and find the truth that is within, quietness. Let's begin by scanning our bodies, looking for tension. Check in with your face, around your forehead or jaw. And as you breathe in and let go as you exhale, if there's any tension in your face, see if you could just let it relax. Check in with your neck and your shoulders. Breathe in, and as you exhale, let your shoulders drop. Through your chest, into your belly and your back. Breathe in. Relax as you exhale. Through your hips, into your legs. Breathe and let go. Arms and hands, legs and feet. Breathe in and let go. Breathing and relaxing. Breathing and relaxing. Now see if you can picture yourself in a space that you find relaxing. I know in our family room, sitting by the fireplace is a very relaxing space for me. Maybe at a kitchen table or a back deck, a greenway. Find a place that you feel comfortable and then imagine yourself there while you practice breathing. Slowly in, relaxing as you exhale. And there in that place, your feeling comfortable place, your feeling peaceful place, let's see if we can bring ourselves to the space inside of us that has a bit different framing than our typical day-to-day mindset. Let's see if we can access a deeper part of ourselves. And do that by seeing if you can imagine and then invite into that space with you someone who thinks differently than you think. Of course, this week, many of us think about the politically different ways of thinking. But maybe Maybe someone who approaches work differently than you do in your company. Someone who approaches relationships differently, thinks differently about religion or family or money. See if will come to mind someone who views things differently than you do. And imagining yourself there, kitchen table or by the fire, on the deck. Without discussion, is it possible for you to invite that person to sit down with you or to walk alongside you? Can you imagine yourself able to do that and still be at peace within yourself? See if you can recover that place of peacefulness and let go of the tension that differences so often cause. And see if you can be okay, be at peace, them being there with you. Again, no conversation. Again, no debates. Just being present alongside one another and you able to be at peace. Breathe in, relax. Do that again and again. Can you find that place inside of you that is able to accept? Can you find that place inside you that is able to practice grace and kindness? And then maybe stretch a little bit. Can you see how your person is more like you than not? Can you see how your person struggles and your person has dreams and they have challenges and they hope and they fear? See if you can, for just a moment, focus on the commonalities you share rather than the differences. Maybe stretch further. See if you can find the space inside of yourself where you are inclined to want to understand your person. See if you can find that space where you are inclined to, where you want to understand why the differences are there. We're not trying to agree. We're just seeing if we can want to understand. And finally, let's stretch ourselves one last time and see if we can pray a prayer of loving kindness over your person. If you are willing, if you are able, pray this in your mind along with me. May my person be at peace. May my person be well. May my person feel secure and loved and awaken to the light of his or her truest nature. Amen. Continuing to breathe. Maybe in your mind's eye, bid your person well as they stand from your comfortable place and as they leave. But you are still there. Let's see if we can pray this prayer for ourselves together. May my capacity for love be restored. Even expand. May my capacity for peace be restored. Even expand. May my capacity for trust be restored. Even expand. Breathing in and relaxing. And indwelling divine, may this be a season of restoration for us, restoring us to inner equilibrium, restoring us to the ancient virtues, and restoring us to our truest selves. Amen. And may that be that we are restored. Well, good morning again. Hey, Miguel, would you do me a favor? Would you go close the front door back there, the one that goes to the outside? Yeah, it'll just, if you just pull it, it'll shut. That's right. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. Andy's doing it for me. So let's start our lesson today with a story about stories. Because in a minute, I'm going to say this. Get ready, you're going to hear it. Stories are powerful. Then I'll say it again. Stories are powerful. And then I'll say it a third time. Stories are powerful. So this is a community origin story. It's one of the foundations of our community life. So if you've been here a while, you will have heard this story. It's early on, and I am reflecting on what's gone wrong with church. I'm asking people for their critiques, and I'm writing those things down, and I hear this recurring theme again and again. Church people are hypocrites, and church people are mean. I had heard it even before, but when I started asking, I got an earful of it. Church people are hypocrites, church people are mean. So one day it occurs to me, well, that critique is not crazy. It does happen a lot that we are hypocrites and we are mean. When it occurred to me that in the story that we tell ourselves, God says, I love you, I love you, I love you. But does God love you, love you, love you? Because here's his grand plan. I, the all-powerful God, I made you with the capacity to sin. I, the all-knowing God, I made you knowing you would sin. And then when you did sin, I decided it was your fault, not mine, and I decided that you should burn in hell for eternal torment. So maybe not all loving God, because I love you, I love you, I love you is what the marketing brochure says. But that's actually kind of a mean story, and it's kind of a hypocritical story. And it is this. The other side are Satan-worshiping baby killers. Take out the details, and right and left alike are telling the same story. The other side are Satan-worshiping baby killers. There are details, and those details are painful. But you can't look at those details with any sense of clarity when your underlying narrative is they are Satanists bent on destroying the nation. All indications are the next 4 years are going to be chaotic. And it will be very easy in the chaos to keep telling the same story, the one that we have been telling for the last 15 years, and there's a good chance we will keep telling for the next 15 years. The next 4 years, we can always tell this story. See, the very worst kind of people, the ones bent on destroying that nation. See. Now again, I am not unaware of the specifics. I know them. I have heard them. There's a reason why we tell the stories that we tell. I'm not saying there are not facts on the ground. But all it takes is just standing back a little bit, and there are some indications that that story might not be the deepest or the realest or the truest story that we are working with. No matter how this election had turned out on Tuesday, half of our nation was going to wake up on Wednesday having just elected Satan-worshiping baby killers to destroy the nation. It didn't matter how this went. That was going to be half of us. And stories are powerful. Stories are powerful. 4 years ago, many Americans thought a horse would save us. The election would solve our problems. The White House and both houses of Congress, a horse. That's what we needed. I read an interesting article. The counties that benefited most from the Inflation Reduction Act were red counties. Blue legislation benefiting red counties. Now, if we were dealing with the thing, our focus would be on the revival of those local economies. Our focus would be on improved local tax base. Our focus would be on improved schools and better services. And with those things happening in those counties, you'd expect a change of mindset, you'd expect a change in voting patterns. But things did not change, not a bit, because we're not dealing with the thing. We're dealing with the thing under the thing. We're dealing with lost community, lost solidarity, lost trust, lost social cohesion. And maybe on the top of that list, we are dealing with lost mutual respect. People who practice mutual respect don't talk about one another the way we talk about one another. Stories are powerful. How can you respect a Satan-worshiping baby killer? How can you practice social cohesion with destroyers of nations? Now, maybe 73 million of us just are ignorant, racist, bigoted, anti-science baby killers. Maybe some. Maybe 69 million of us just are America-hating, climate alarmist, Marxist, police-hating nation destroyers. Maybe some. But 69 million of us? 73 million of us? You do, I do. I know some people on both sides of the spectrum. And I'm going to suggest maybe we've got our story wrong. And if that's the case, that we have our story wrong, and stories are powerful, stories are powerful, stories are powerful. And if we are spiritual people committed to the proposition that spirituality is about making us better people and helping us build a better world, now, if that's the problem, we've got the wrong story, what do we do now? What do we do now? And I'm going to suggest first a good place to start would be with the internal work. And a good place to start the internal work is to start with some self-suspicion. To be suspicious of the story that we carry around inside of ourselves. We are saturated in a national conversation. And here's what the conversation has not been about. It has not been about what it feels like to feel someone else's pain. We have a list of debate topics, if you could call what we do debate. It's not really debate. We debate diversity and inclusion programs. We debate immigration. We debate the crumbling of non-college economies. We debate authoritarian leadership, and we debate democracy, and we debate police reform, and we debate LGBTQ rights. We debate healthcare access. There's quite a list of things we debate. But you'll have noticed that all of those conversations are automated. They happen by rote. All we're doing is talking pointing one another. Mostly, they're not even talking points, they're shouting points. But there's a reason that that's the pickle we find ourselves in. Because once a baby killer says one thing, we are obligated to say the opposite thing. Serious topics need serious, thoughtful consideration, but stories are powerful. Stories are powerful. Stories are powerful. So what we can do as spiritual people is start there. Start with the story. And we can do that by practicing some suspicion about the Satan-worshiping, baby-killing, nation-destroying story that we tell. We can start reading things that we don't typically read. What does it feel like to be on the other side of wherever you find yourself? I read an article about the diploma divide that happened this election, and it said this: if you only have a high school diploma, you're going to die 9 years sooner than if you had a college degree. You're going to experience 6 times more opioid overdoses in your town than a college graduate is going to experience. And you're going to get married less, and you're going to divorce more. And you're going to be more likely to have a child without a partner. And you're going to be more likely to be a single parent. And you're going to be more likely to be obese. And 1 in 4 of you are going to report that they don't even have one close friend. And you're going to be significantly less likely to visit public spaces or go to public events or join community groups or a sports league. And perhaps most painfully, you're going to pick up the message that you don't belong. You don't talk right. You don't believe right. You don't belong. You're not accepted. You're not respected. So if an opportunity arises to burn that whole fucking thing down, you might just be tempted to take it. Burn it down. Now that point has been raised in our national conversation. I bet you've heard it. But in this talking point arena that we live in, I bet you've also heard the counterpoint. The counterpoint says, so what? What about my pain? What about their pain? We saw that happen right after George Floyd, an outpouring of pain articulated in Black Lives Matter. And the response was, whoa, whoa, whoa. What about my pain? What about all lives matter? We're seeing that same pain dismissing happening in the reverse. While our national policies of energies have favored the coastal elite cities at the expense of the heartland, what about my pain? What about our pain? And we can do that, and we can keep doing that, and we can keep dismissing what it feels like to feel the pain of one another. But truth to be told, nobody ever wins a pissing contest over whose pain is the worst. Everybody loses that argument. All that does is escalate resentment, further entrench us in the stories that we tell ourselves. So what can we do, spiritual people? We can start being suspicious of the underlying narrative that is driving us and everybody around us. We can start being suspicious of the echo chambers that feed us a very narrowed understanding of what the bigger picture is. We can start being suspicious of the straw man arguments that our side mounts, suspicious that perhaps the extreme voices that their side puts up represent them any more than the extreme voices our side puts up represents us. Suspicious that maybe they don't hate democracy, or maybe they don't hate America. Maybe they don't hate religion. Maybe they don't want to impose Christian nationalism on everybody. Sure, some of them do, and some of them are saying it out loud, but 69 million of them? 73 million of them? We can start being suspicious of the story that has been force-fed to us. Second thing we can do is we can begin to opt out of the echo chamber. I called Julie Thompson this week, and we were talking about something that has to do with church, and Chris was in the background getting ready to go, and Chris heard that it was me on the phone, and he just yelled out in the phone, "Hey, I'm deleting Twitter off my phone." X now, which is a great idea because the studies are in, and social media will eat your soul from the inside out. So yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea if you're going to be online to use it as a source to meet people and to connect with people. Yeah. Don't be there when the storytellers are storytelling. Opt out. Participate in online communities instead of online platforms. Be online with people that you know, people that you can engage with face-to-face, people you can Zoom with, people you can interact with personally. Get your news in a more balanced way. Read sensible people from your side and sensible people from their side. Seek out social analysis by those who are looking at the bigger picture and understanding the motivating forces that are driving people's thoughts and actions and feelings. And when you get courageous enough, meet some people. Ask some questions. Connect with people. Denise and I are making a listening plan right now. Given all the vitriol and giving all the silos, I'd like to hear from you directly. What do you think about X or Y or Z? And why do you think that? Just listening. If asked, I'd be happy to share my view, but that won't be the point. The point is to listen and then feed back what I have heard, just like we do in our conflict resolution process. We can get suspicious, and we can opt out of the echo chamber. And the third thing we can do is participate in the reconstruction. You remember this from a few weeks ago. It's a deeply human pattern, the subtitle of this book. Order, disorder, reorder. Order, disorder, reorder. If anything seems likely, it's that the next 4 years are going to have some disorder. Perhaps the word chaos would be apt. But here's the thing about chaos. It often is an agent of change in a society. These next years could present an opportunity for crafting a new story, a not Satan worshiper story. These next 4 years could present the opportunity to craft a new way of being in a nation, and we could participate in that crafting. We could start thinking differently about one another. We could start restoring respect for one another. We could start restoring a belief in the best intentions of one another. Maybe the chaos will not be a bad thing, maybe just an uncomfortable thing. Because if we can do number one and be suspicious of the story that is peddled to us every day, if we can do number two, opt out of the echo chamber and start seeking out a bigger story of the humanity of the other, maybe then we could participate in number three, crafting a new order on the other side of disorder. So, thank you those who've told me already this morning that you watched the documentary that I sent to you Thursday. I mentioned this documentary. If you didn't get a chance to see it, I hope you will. Join or Die. It is a documentary. It's not a drama. It's not a comedy. It's not particularly emotionally evocative, but it is well done, aside from the graphics package. I didn't particularly like the graphics they chose. But it is an answer to what ails us. It's a roadmap for how we could start participating with getting out of the malaise that we are in. It is a roadmap that we could follow as ordinary people who are spiritual people. It is a track that says, here, now, small, doable, here's something that we could do. And if we will do that thing, our world will become a different place. So this guy, he's the Bowling Alone guy. He wrote that book in 2000. And now in this documentary, he's reflecting 25 years later on what did not happen after he wrote this book. That book could have changed the trajectory of our nation's life. We could have begun in the year 2000 restitching the torn fabric of community, but we did not. In fact, what we did instead was accelerate our headlong journey down the curve to 25 more years of diminishing civic engagement, 25 more years of diminishing commitment to and participation in community, 25 more years of creating more social divides because we continued to undercut civic connections, we continued to undercut mutual understanding, we continued to undercut empathy, we continued to undercut civic life. And those trends were in place long before the Tea Party, long before MAGA, long before the Squad, long before any of these things that have become so politically divisive. These underlying currents were already in place where we were stepping back from one another. We were stepping back from our engagement with one another. We were stepping back from those contexts in which we could begin to understand one another and trust one another. And now, 25 years later, maybe we all hurt badly enough. Maybe we might be ready to do what we were not ready to do 25 years ago. I feel pretty confident this election is not going to solve our problems. No more than the last one did, no more than the next one will. But maybe we, spiritual people, could begin to discern the thing under the thing, the story under the story, and maybe we could become part of changing our world by beginning to work on that, the root cause. So if you didn't already watch it, I hope you will. It's worth the 90 minutes. Put something else behind in your queue. Put that up in your queue. It's on Netflix. But it is a very clear roadmap. Here's how. Here's how we could together participate in restitching community. Here's how we could begin to participate together in healing our world. Here's how we could make a change that lasts. Here's one thing I'll tell you. You might be inspired when you watch the video, but when you start thinking about what you're going to do next week in response to that video, you are not going to like it. Because we have all been acclimated to not doing what it's going to take for us to heal our nation. We don't want to get out of these comfortable zones that we live in. We don't want to do these things. I promise you, you're not going to want to do what it's going to take to heal our nation. But that's why I started this lesson saying, I'm not talking to left-leaning people. I'm not talking to right-leaning people. I'm talking to spiritual people. I'm talking to people who can see the thing under the thing and begin to mount our lives in response to that. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It has always been the way of spiritual community that we gather to become spiritually strong. We gather to become capable of doing things that need doing that we don't want to do. We gather in order to learn the way of serenity. We gather to do the practices like gratitude or communal love or learning and serving, so that when we scatter, we are resourced to make a difference. We are resourced to change the things that we can change. So, indwelling divine, may we be agents of change in our world. May we be the people who are becoming better people to help build a better world. May we participate in the dismantling of this toxic, force-fed story, first in ourselves, and then may we share that story with those around us. Amen. All right, those of you on the live stream, I am looking forward to what are you thinking in the room. And you could do it too, right there online. You will notice in the YouTube notes there are two links. One of them says, if you are live here Sunday morning at almost 11, you could head over to the Zoom right afterwards. There are a handful of people, maybe 6 or 7, who regularly participate there, and they would be very welcoming of you. And they'll open the floor and say, what are you thinking about? What did you think about what you heard today? And you don't have to talk the first few times. You can just listen. But what you could do over time is start building relationships with those people. So that's available. There's a link there. And if you're not live, if you're time shifting this, there's another link that says, hey, tell me when you're doing other groups. We do life story groups online. We do Enneagram groups online. We do everything online. So I hope you will do that. Let's dismiss the folks who are online. If you would, please put your hand on your heart and let us remember that we are, every one of us, carriers of the indwelling divine. Love and joy, peace, patience, and kindness are in us because we carry the divine light within us. And if you would extend your other hand to our city, let's look for opportunities to share what's already in us with the people that we live and work and go to school with, looking for opportunities to repair and heal our world. Amen. God bless you all online. You're dismissed. Those of us in the room, we're not dismissed.